يعني خدنا حاجة اسمها directed angles، نراجع اللي خدناه السنة اللي فاتت. directed angle مثلا، directed angle يعني angle لها direction، ليها initial side initial and terminal and direction from the initial to terminal. اوكي، يبقى دي كانت الانجل دي سيتا كده، ودي اسمها بوزيتيف. ولو كانت سيتا بالمنظر ده كان اسمها نيجاتيف دايركشن. ده اسمه برضو initial، وده اسمه، دي اسمها terminal. اوكي، theta. لو كانت direction from the initial to terminal is counter clockwise direction يبقى the angle is positive. If the direction from the initial to terminal is clockwise direction يبقى الميجر is a negative. يعني لو كان الميجر ده 40 وده 40 فده يبقى نيجاتيف 40 وده يبقى بوزيتيف 40. اوكي، في حاجه كمان اسمها theta radian، radian angle. What is the radian angle? Is another measure for the degrees measure. يعني كانت theta degrees according to 180 is the same as theta radian over pi. Okay. طيب, we can convert from the radian to degrees and from the degrees to radian. And what is the radian angle itself? Radian angle is a central angle opposite to an arc equal the length of the radius. يعني if this arc and this radius are equal, then this angle is 1 rad. يعني 1 radian. يعني 1 radian معناها central angle opposite to an arc of length equals r equals the length of the radius. كانت ال 1 radian approximately equals 57.27 degrees. يعني ال 1 radian كانت approximately equals كده. وكان الباي ده كان ب 3.14 تقريبا. لان ال 3.14 ليه؟ لان عملنا 180 divided by 57.28 it will be approximately equal 3.14. So the 1 radian is 57.28 for this reason. Okay. كمان we took the angles at the standard position. What is the angle of the standard position? X and Y. The angle is in the standard position if its initial side is OX, the positive direction of X axis, and the terminal side is any side. If the terminal side is in the first, then the angle is between 0 and 108 and 90. Sorry. If the terminal, this is the terminal side. If the terminal side is in the second quadrant, then the angle will be between 90 and 180. This is the initial standard position. If the terminal side, if the terminal side is in the third quadrant, then the angle will be between 180 and 270. And if the terminal side is in the fourth quadrant, then the angle will be between 270 and 360. And in the coordinates or in a unit circle, the point, the circle unit circle Okay. In the unit circle, any point that's x and y in the circle represent, unit circle means the radius is 1. This is x and this is y. Represent the relation x squared plus y squared equals 1. That's number one. Second one, y is the coordinate of sine and x is the coordinate of cosine. So y is sine and x is cosine. And we studied x power 2 plus y power 2 equals 1, then cosine power 2 theta plus, if this angle is theta, sine power 2 so equals 1. And we found many rules from this rule. Okay. And we studied some special angles that are 30 and 60 and 45. And we find the trigonometric functions of these angles. 30 degrees, this is x and y, this is sine and cosine. Okay, the coordinate of 30 is root 3 over 2 and 1 over 2. And the coordinate of 60 is 1 over 2 and root 3 over 2, the opposite. And the coordinate of 45 is 1 over root 2 and 1 over root 2. And you can find the sine, cosine, and tan from this order pairs for the special angle. So sine 30 will be y, which is half. Cosine 30, which is x, which is root 3 over 2. And the tan 30 is y over x, or sine over cosine theta. Okay, it will be half divided by 3 over root 3 over 2, 2 minus 2, 1 over root 3. This is the opposite. Sine 60 is root 3 over 2. Cosine 60 is half. Tan 60 is root 3. And this one, sine equal cosine, because this triangle will be right angled at this triangle. يعني تبقى اليونت سيركل والانجل is 45. يبقى 45 and 45 يبقى x and y are equal. يبقى x root 2. So the sine theta equals the cosine theta equals 1 over root 2. And the tan 45 will be 1. Okay? And you need to know some rules for sine and cosine, which is su, que, toi. You remember this relation? Su, que, toi. Su means sine equal opposite over hypotenuse. Well, cosine equal adjacent over hypotenuse. With tan equal opposite over adjacent. Okay? Any problem in this part? Negative cosine theta. وtan 180 minus theta equals negative tan theta. فاكرين all the functions are positive in the first quadrant. With second quadrant, sine is only the positive and its reciprocal. With third كانت tan البوزيتيف and reciprocal. والفورث quadrant كان الكوزاين positive and reciprocal. كنا بنقول استك، فاكرين؟ نقول استك او all student take coffee ولا مش عارف ايه. خلاص؟ يبقى الثيرد كوادرانت only the tan will be the same. يعني tan طبعا الثيرد يبقى 180 بلس، يبقى ساين 180 بلس ثيتا equal نيجاتيف ساين ثيتا. كوزاين 180 بلس ثيتا equals نيجاتيف، يبقى دي نيجاتيف ودي نيجاتيف، نيجاتيف كوزاين ثيتا. انما tan 180 plus theta in the third quadrant will be the same, tan theta. Okay? in the fourth quadrant يا اما theta and negative theta or theta و 360 minus theta. يعني sin 360 minus theta equals negative sin theta. Cosine 360 minus theta equal cosine theta. And cosine is positive in this quadrant. And tan 360 minus theta equals negative tan theta. يبقى all the functions in the first quadrant are positive. In the second quadrant, only the sine and its reciprocal will be the same. يعني sine 180 is the same as sine 180 minus theta equal sine theta. Okay? يعني for example, in the second quadrant, sine 120 will be equal sine 60 in the first quadrant. Why? Because it will be sine 180 minus 120, which is sine 60 degrees, will be the same. لكن cosine 120 will be negative cosine 180 minus 120, which is opposite sine of cosine 60. يعني حسبنا على الفيرست كوادرانت cosine 60 وهنا cosine 120 will be the same in numbers but opposite signs, يعني additive inverses. Okay? يعني without using calculator, how can to find tan 240 plus sine 150 plus cosine 120 or 210? Okay, let's solve this one. Tan 240 is in the third quadrant. In the third quadrant, you have to write it as its form, which is 180 plus the remainder. 240 minus 180, 60. مش كده؟ It will be tan 60. In the third quadrant, the tan is the same sign as the first quadrant. يعني equal tan 60. 60 كانت عاملة ازاي؟ 60 كانت half and root 3 over 2. with 30 كانت root 3 over 2 and half. وال 45 1 over root 2 and 1 over root 2. Okay, so tan 60 will be y over x, which is root 3. What about sine 150? Sine 150 is in the second quadrant. Second quadrant, the form is 180 minus the rest of this angle, which is 30. يعني 180, sorry, minus 150, which is sine 30. Sine 30 is half. Okay. التالتة cosine 210. Cosine, this 210 is in the third quadrant. It will be in the form cosine 180 plus 30. And the cosine in the third quadrant will be negative. It will be negative cosine 30, negative cosine 30, which is negative root 3 over 2. And you can calculate them. First is half, look at root 3. وبعدين plus, second is half. The third is negative root 3 over 2. And this step, you can use a calculator to calculate it. Only the last, I'll give you an example. Without using with without using calculator, find the value of sine 240 minus 2 cosine 150 plus tan 300. Okay, I'll give you 1 minute to solve it. دلوقتي sine 240 is in the third quadrant. We can write it as sine 180 plus what? 240 minus 180 equals 60. The
6.
sign in the third quadrant is positive or negative? Third quadrant. اهي استك. ها يبقى sign in the third quadrant. Which angle in the third quadrant is positive?
10.
10.
مش
We are
يعني
talking
sign
about
negative.
sign. يبقى sign positive or negative in the third quadrant?
sign positive.
يعني زميلتك بتقول لك 10 is positive.
بس
is
بس انا
only
ما اعرفش.
positive angle in the third quadrant.
ما اعرفش.
The positive
وانا
function
قلت
in the third
نيجاتيف
quadrant is
قلت
10. يبقى sign is
يبقى
positive or
sign
negative
negative.
يا حسن؟
نيجاتيف.
يبقى negative sign 60.
ماشي
negative
نيجاتيف
sign
ساين.
60 is 60. احنا قلنا 30. 60 45. 30 root 3 over 2 and half. 60 half and root 3 over 2. 45 1 over root 2 1 over root 2. Okay, the negative sign 60, which is negative root 3 over 2. We can solve the other one, cosine 150. In which quadrant?
Second.
Second quadrant. It will be cosine 180 minus 30. In the second quadrant, the cosine is positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive. لأنها في السكند مين اللي positive قولوا لي؟
كله تقريبا positive ما عدا التاني.
كله. أمال دي إيه اللي
لا،
أنا
كله
بعلم عليها دي؟
ما عدا الساين. ماشي.
لا العكس بقى يا حبيبي.
يعني
الساين
ساين بس اللي
بوزيتيف.
ماشي.
يبقى الكوزين ايه؟
نيجاتيف.
نيجاتيف كوزين 30. كوزين 30 يعني نيجاتيف روت 3 over 2. Third one is 10 300. دي 300 على فكرة. 10 300. In which quadrant 300
يبقى
دي؟
fourth quadrant.
Which quadrant؟ ما سمعتش.
الفورث.
Fourth quadrant. Fourth quadrant, what's the formula of the angle of the fourth quadrant? It will be 360 minus. مش كده ولا ايه؟ minus 300. مش كده ولا ايه؟ يعني equal 10 60. 10 in the fourth quadrant is positive or negative?
Negative.
دي 360 minus 60. Sorry. get 300. يبقى negative 1060. 1060 يعني negative root 3 over 2. You have 3 values. Okay. يبقى كام هنا؟ Sin 240 is 3 negative root 3 over 2 minus 2 times cosine 150. Cosine 100
negative root 3 على 2.
which is negative root 3 over 2 plus tan 300 is minus root 3 over 2 will be 0. البيج اللي قبل كده يمكن فيها حاجة مش دي كانت 100 يعني دي 30. اوكي دي 6 مظبوط كده. اوكي